go ahead and get started. My name is Charles Sells with the PIP Group. We are a passive investment provider for investments in distressed real estate. I've been in this business for 27 years. It's all been distressed real estate, anything from tax liens all the way through multifamily long-term rentals. We're in the process of a commercial hotel build right now, which is very exciting. That's a personal project of ours. We've been doing this for about 6 years in Savannah, which is the hot market we're going to be talking about tonight. And in those 6 years, we've done about $80 million in fix and flips and buy and hold deals. The market in Savannah is fantastic. We all were a little concerned with COVID, as we all were. It has been something that has gotten better and better as the days go on. You know, even before the pandemic, I always called Savannah a recession-proof market, and there are reasons why I called it that. They just keep piling on more layers that keep making it even better. We're the largest so-called flipper. I don't really like that term of homes in our market. We do about 70 a year in Savannah, and that's all scale sizes. That's anything from, a $1.5 million quadplex to down to a $140,000 single family home. First, I want to give a shout out to the folks that organized this for us, which is REI Inc. And also Bob Rakowski, the founder of the magazine, is a 20-year veteran. I believe he was a tank commander, a major in the Army. So I just want to thank all our veterans and REI Inc. for putting this together, and Bob for your service.
Thank you, Charles. Appreciate it.
Oh, hey, Bob. I didn't know you were here. Welcome.
Yeah, I'm here. My camera's not working ever since my first call.
Perfect. All right. Well, again, thanks for your service, Bob.
You're welcome.
All right. So America's hottest market, and I can confidently say this, and the reason I can say it is, we have been doing this for a while now, and the numbers just keep getting better and better and better, and we're going to talk about that. We're offering to do this passively for our investors as well. We've been doing that for quite some time, and we have some unique deals because of labor shortages, material shortages, the cost of goods that went up for a while, and we'll address that in a minute. So we have partnerships that we can do these days. They're JVs, they're LLC partnerships. And it's very interesting. There's ways that makes us the guarantor of the entire investment, and you put in a little bit of capital, and we'll cover that as well. I mentioned accredited investors here, but there is also the opportunity to be our lender, where there's situations that I'll show you and illustrate that hard money can't act quickly enough for us in a lot of these deals. A lot of these deals are cash on hand. Because of the scale and the size we are right now, and the hotel project we're in right now, there's always an opportunity to be a partner of ours as essentially as a lender, and also own a stake of equity in the projects of the collateral properties. Let me admit some more people here real quick. So Savannah's market, Southeast region consists of these three states that I'm showing you right here. Savannah has been the second largest seller of properties, that's buy and sell, obviously, in 2020 and 2021. That's taking into consideration markets like Nashville, which most of us that are in the business know that Nashville has been just absolutely booming for the last 5 years. Savannah is really taking off, and has been for 6 years, about 7 years now. We think it's going to be like a 13-year run. And again, there's reasons why we think that, which we'll cover. Sorry, I'm trying to do two things here at once. Why Savannah? Savannah's market appreciation has been 12.7% year over year for the last 5 years. That is a little more than double the national average. Now, we can't really take into consideration what's happened in 2020 and 2021. Obviously those numbers are going to be certainly a lot higher. But this is something, without even touching a property, it's appreciating by 12.7% per year, and has been doing so consistently. One area that we invest in is what we call the state streets for obvious reasons. If you look at the slide, this particular area in the last 7 years, last 7 years has appreciated by 124% in value. Now we do have a little bit to do with that. The little houses you see on this is a little bit out of date. We actually have a lot more volume in there now, but these are our projects. So essentially what's happening is we put 3 up on the market at the same time. The comps get better because they're making comparisons to our own properties, our recent sales, and that number just keeps going up and up. So that is one of the reasons. Again, this is just a showcase of some of those homes and the map again, showing you some of our projects in the area. What's interesting is this slide is about a year old. And if you look at like 2412 Mississippi Avenue, that property today would sell for about $229,000 with the way the market's been. It's just been absolutely berserk that what we've seen and experienced throughout this crazy wave of markets. Year to date, which I thought was a really cool number, is 18.9%. It's a really big number, but Jeff, when you sent over your slides for me to put in here, I was like, well, man, we're just kind of a little bit above the national average, but we're still doing very, very well. So 18.9% year to date in 2021. I expect this number to actually go a lot higher once the final data comes in 2022. Just from what we've seen boots on the ground, like that Mississippi property I just showed you, that's up a lot more than just 20%. And we're seeing that all over the city. Rents in most Savannah neighborhoods have grown by as much as 33% in the last 3 years. And that is nearly triple the state average as people continue to move to where they want to live and work where they want to live versus having to live where they want to work. Zoom has really changed the tempo, which is what's really driving this market now is, the shutdowns and whatnot proved that 80% of Americans can actually work from home. We're all going to get a little fatter, but we can do it. So it's changing the dynamic of how we work and how we live. So people are moving where they vacation, essentially. Savannah Renewal Authority, which has a lot to do with why Savannah is doing so well, says we have a population growth set for 37% by the year 2033. Now, there's certain things that are pushing that, the port expansion, and some other things. I actually think we're way ahead of that number right now, just again, because of COVID. This particular slide and this census was done pre-COVID. So I imagine, when we see 2021 come back out, it's going to be great. Savannah also has these great Dream Maker programs, which are massively incentivized for a home buyer. They can get as much as $60,000 towards their mortgage as a loan, as long as they either live in the property for 30 years or they pay that loan back upon the sale of the property. State streets that I mentioned is a big area where all of this is going on. And this particular property is a before and after of one of the properties we actually did in the state streets. I believe this one was on Florida Avenue. More reasons why Savannah. Stand by, folks. Let me just check and see if I need to let anybody in here again. No, looks like we're good. Okay, more reasons for Savannah. Ranked number 4 best city for vacationing by Candé Nast for 10 years. That number actually is a typo. It should be 12 years. Forbes magazine ranks Savannah as the 4th best city in America to retire. Savannah is still a very affordable city. Our median home prices are $275,000. So on the grand scale of things, a very affordable city to live. You got great weather. You don't have the cold. Our coldest day, our median temperature is 77 degrees in the year. Obviously, we have some hot months, but it's pretty cold. Forbes magazine named us the top employer in 2019. Numerous TV shows and movies. A lot of people don't know this, but most of the shows that you're actually watching right now are being filmed in Savannah. At least a lot of the pieces of it. Obviously, if it's supposed to be LA, you need an LA street scene, that sort of thing. But most of it's being done in Savannah and in Georgia because Georgia passed these great tax incentive benefits for filming. So we have a new campus, 50-acre campus that's being converted by Georgia Tech. SCAD, College of Art and Design, already has a movie studio in an old mall. So there's a lot of things going for Savannah on that front. So again, we're going back to tourism. People want to live where they watch, what they see. So just a lot of things going well for Savannah. Lots of inventory still left. Savannah was a rough city 10 years ago with a lot of abandoned properties and a lot of rundown properties, a lot of crime. All of that's been rectified and the city is essentially rebuilding itself and renewing itself. But we still have inventory. So like I said, we've got about a 13-year run through this, as the ports get expanded and everything else. Lots of historic homes in Savannah, huge tax incentives for this particular piece. You can get up to 40% on your renovation costs and your rehab costs on historical properties, plus a 10-year tax freeze on the pre-repair value of the property. So your taxes on that property for 10 years is going to be, after repair value. Sorry, I'm just checking the waiting room again. Okay, infrastructure. I've hinted at it a little bit already. What is really driving Savannah? What makes me so confident, other than those other things I just showed you about Savannah, is they're following a path that happened during the last recession in 2008. On the bottom left, you see a map of Charleston, South Carolina. Charleston revitalized and renewed itself in the same way that Savannah is doing now. MUSC, which is Medical University of South Carolina, started buying all the commercial properties around town and converting that into the campus. So with that followed investors like us that were then started buying the single family properties and renovating those properties. And those essentially became the rentals of the students that were going to MUSC. Additional things happened for Charleston. Boeing moved their 787 manufacturing plant there. They still had decent ports. So there was a number of things that helped build that, rebuild that city from the inside out. SCAD has the same thing. Sounds like a small school, but it's not. Savannah College of Art and Design is actually bigger than MUSC. They have a campus in Lacoste, France, Hong Kong, or they had one in Hong Kong, and Atlanta, and one other spot I'm forgetting. But they're a very big school, very expensive school, and they're doing the exact same thing right now. So they're buying all the commercial properties around Savannah, and they're making that the campus. So with that, all the improved properties start doing the same thing. All the single family starts getting renovated around the campus, and we're essentially just following SCAD. We started on the east side with them 6 years ago. And they've essentially built up all that inventory, and it's all very beautiful. It's very nice. It's very expensive. And now they're starting to move into the west side, which is where a ton of inventory remains. This just shows you a couple of buildings that Savannah just recently acquired and recently built. The one on the top right is a massive dormitory campus in what we called 4 years ago a very rough area. And everything around it now has just sprouted up. And we are literally buying within blocks of these properties. All right, I gotta let some people in. Stand by. I really got to figure out how to have somebody else do this for me. So we talked about tourism. So Savannah's been #4 for the last 10 years by Candé Nast magazine. And I mentioned SCAD. I just thought it was interesting that when I found this article, most popular topic #2 was that SCAD had just purchased that apartment building I showed you before to continue to build their growth in the west side. I make the comparisons to Charleston. Charleston is the only city that has been ranked #1 Reader's Choice Award for 10 consecutive years. And I mentioned that Savannah continues to follow Charleston every step of the way. Except we actually have more going for us in Savannah than just MUSC, a port, and Boeing, and we'll get into that. The port expansion, obviously, it's a big one. That's where they're getting their 30% growth numbers from. That's supposed to be completed in 2033. But what's interesting is even though we've got a long ways to go for that, in 2020 and 2021, so far, Savannah has transported more containers through the port than any other port in the nation. So think about that for a minute. Los Angeles, San Diego, Long Beach, any of those, Miami, any of those ports, Savannah is actually moving more containers through its port than any of those other cities. And people are starting to take notice. GULFSTREAM headquarters is in Savannah. Since we've been investing in Savannah for 7 years, they opened a new plant. They opened 2 new plants, I'm sorry, and they're now on the process of opening a 3rd manufacturing plant. So they're here to stay, obviously. They're pumping out more airplanes than Boeing can. They're obviously a lot less expensive, but more planes means more workers, means more infrastructure. When we talk about ideal cities to flip homes in, we always say, you want to be somewhere where there's a military base, a strong foundation of a population that's not going anywhere. Savannah has 2. We have Hunter Army Airfield, which is where all the Black Hawk helicopter pilots get trained. And we've got Fort Stewart. Fort Stewart is the 3rd ID. So basically what you have is when you go into, let's say, Afghanistan, Marines go in there, they're the tip of the sword. When they come out, the Army's tip of the sword is the 3rd ID. So that's coming out of Fort Stewart, Georgia. So that's part of Savannah. So those bases aren't going anywhere. So that is obviously a great feature for us. And then finally, the biggie that we learned just in March of this year, Amazon's moving to town. This is huge for us, obviously. Many of you that are in the business probably recall about a year ago, Amazon was talking about going into certain cities with fulfillment centers. One of those was Raleigh, and investors just started clamoring all over Raleigh, trying to get ahead of the curve. They didn't go to Raleigh, but they're coming to Savannah because the port's right here, and we're moving more containers than anywhere else in the country. So that's going to be massive for us, having an Amazon fulfillment center for us right here in little old Savannah, Georgia. So there's different ways to engage us and work with us. One is cash investor. We're not really going to talk about cash investors tonight because really this is about the power of leverage. But cash investors are, essentially what our model was pre-COVID. We would earn a commission of 40% on the performance of that investment. So net profits of sale, essentially. We do all the sweat, we do all the headaches, deal with all the contractors, all the overruns that don't get billed to you, and then we take a 40% net cut of that profit. Leverage PIP is the guarantor. What does that mean? So the guarantor is essentially the guy on the hard money loan that says, I'm responsible. I'm the one that's going to make sure that this property turns a profit. And if it doesn't, I'm on the hook for this particular property. With us being the guarantor, we obviously take a much bigger cut of the percentage because we have a lot more risk involved in the property than you do. And we'll look at the low amount of capital that is required to actually do some really interesting big deals. And Jeff will get into that as well. You can also just leverage our experience. Let's say that you think our cut of 75 is too big. You want something more along the lines of a cash investor. We can set up an LLC and you still get our experience, which gets you better rates, gets you through underwriting faster, and we still passively handle everything on your behalf and take care of everything for you. The only difference is now that you're the guarantor, but you still get all the great stuff from us. The only caveat here is that you have a proof of funds as a minimum of $150,000, regardless of the investment size, because we're going to look at some small ones and some medium ones. The purpose for this is I don't want investors giving me their $50,000 and then 3 months down the road, I find out that that's their life savings. That's a lot of pressure for you. That's a lot of pressure for me. So we want this to be a sophisticated investment, a sophisticated process, not to be viewed upon as a get rich quick idea. Leveraging is a great way to really spread your capital and do really well. But even at that, we don't want to get get crazy and take your $50,000 and you're calling me every day going, what are the windows in? Is the floors done? Because, you know, there are challenges these days with labor and the cost of goods and whatnot. So with that, Jeff, you're up, sir.
I appreciate that, Charles. Thank you so much. And good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Jeffrey Tesch. I'm CEO of RCN Capital. And great to be with you. Charles, thanks so much for the invite. Let me first say, happy Veterans Day. Thank you so much to all of our servicemen and women across the United States, both home and abroad, serving, making our home free and truly home of the free and the brave. Thank you so much for all you do. Charles asked me to come on today to talk a little bit about leverage. And I'll just give you a quick overview of how we started our company and then talk to you about how you can use leverage to really make a difference in making the most of the capital that you're going to invest. And that's really what it's all about tonight. So we started RCN Capital a little over 11 years ago. Really, what we wanted to do was take private hard money and professionalize it. We were in the middle of the foreclosure crisis back in 2010, and we all remember those days, what it was like. Opportunities abound, but capital was hard to come by. What our idea was we were going to take hard money and turn it into a truly commercial business. And that's what we did. We built an entire company around, at first, one product, which was a 12-month loan to acquire properties, as well as provide the capital to fix them. And eventually, over the years, we branched out into long-term rental products as well, as folks began aggregating those homes to build out rental portfolios. Super proud of what we've built. We're one of the largest lenders in the space across the United States. So Charles, let's take it to the next slide. So this is one of the examples of some of the homes that Charles has been working on. And I'm not going to get too into the weeds here, but let's just take it from the top, right? You've got a property that sold for $250,000, leverage gross profit of $178,000, leverage net profit of $106,000, cash to close a real big number, and a wonderful return on investment of 20.5%. So let's move to the right and talk about how these numbers work. So details of the transaction, all right? You've got an ARV of $205,000, a purchase price of $68,000, rehab all in at $30,000. So you're at $98,000. Now, loan amount number one, percentage of the ARV, $153,000, and a loan amount number two, $61,000. So we end up using the $61,000. We're going to rehab budget, and we're going to finance that with as little as a down payment of $6,800. Now, how do we do that? We do it by the power of leverage. We're going to loan you that money up to 90% of the acquisition cost and 100% of the rehab dollars. Now, you might say to yourself, if you're new to the investment game, you know, Jeff, you're talking about RCN Capital here. You sound a little crazy talking about 100% financing for rehab dollars. Well, here's the way we look at it. By working with firms such as Charles, we know they know how to build, we know they know how to fix houses, and we know they know how to make money. So we don't see it as a big risk at all. With as little as that 10% down on the purchase price, we're perfectly comfortable funding 100% of those rehab dollars over the life of the rehab. And at the end of the day, what this does is it frees up more cash for the investor to be able to invest in multiple deals. And that's really how you leverage your capital. First off, seasoned investors knowing what they're doing, providing that capital and really getting a nice ROI on that investment. That 20%, we see that sort of a return as a typical return for seasoned investors. Charles, next slide, please. So a little bit about how we're looking at the marketplace today. And Charles has done an amazing job of talking about Savannah, which I might remind everyone, that is where Mr. Tom Hanks broke out the box of chocolates. If any of you were unaware of that, I sat on that park bench. I did not have any chocolates at the time, but I remember it like it was yesterday. Truly special. But so today, just thinking about investment in single family properties across the United States. There's about roughly 121 million households in the US. Now, that's households, so not individuals, but families. It could be a unit of 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 10, however many folks live in that household. 36% of those homes are rented. Now, home can be an individual single family. It could be an apartment. It could be a mobile home. It could be any number of structures. But that number is absolutely stunning on the percentages. When people think rentals, they only think multifamily housing, apartments and such. Single family is the fastest growing area of the rental housing market. And today, 14 million households are in that single family category. 2 to 4, 7 million, 5 or more, 19. Mobile home, about 2 million. It truly is amazing how quickly the single family rental market is growing. Next slide, Charles. So, and Charles provided some great slides today. This is a little bit 30,000 foot view here, but if you look today across the United States, and granted, a lot of this is due to the COVID push to the suburbs, but home prices have appreciated 18.5% from August to August. Truly a stunning number. But just the other day, Goldman Sachs came out and they predicted a further increase in calendar year 2022 of almost another between 15 and 17%. We'll see. It's just a prediction, but it is truly stunning. And in the 6 years prior, it's been an average of 5.5%. In quarter 3 of this year, it was 8.2, which increased to 17.4. The chart really tells the story. Coming out of the depths of the recession of the housing-induced crisis to where we are today. We'll see. We'll see what holds. Next slide.
Yep. Just want to remind everybody, if you tab on your screen and you have any questions, just punch them into the chat session, into the chat window. I've got my director of marketing on here. And once National Real Estate Insurance Group comes up, I'll be able to get in there and look at some questions as well, answer those for you.
So since 2010, the number of homes occupied by renters has increased faster than the homes occupied by owners. Let me read that to you folks again. Since 2010, the number of homes occupied by renters has increased faster than the homes occupied by owners. Now, the purchase market for residential ownership will always be bigger than the rental market, but it really is something to think about as you think about your investment landscape, whether it be for short-term cash flow, building retirement cash flow, or creating generational wealth for you and your family. How real estate is going to have a component in that. And we don't see this trend slowing down at all. Not only on the short-term bridge side, buying, fixing, and renting, buying, fixing, and selling, but also buying, fixing, and holding for long-term rental income. Truly spectacular. Charles, what you've built. RCN Capital is super proud to be a partner of yours, really providing that capital to you and your investors to help them build that generational wealth that we're talking about. And with that and a box of chocolates, I will send it back to you, Charles.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeff. Yeah, and I was just going to comment on this slide. I actually think, now that the moratorium on foreclosure has been released, we're seeing those start to really ramp back up. So I imagine this rental number is actually going to increase considerably from that. So it's a great time to be in the real estate investment business. This is just a reminder slide of what we showed you prior. It just shows you what the cash net was of 178. I love to provide real evidence, real stories, not just hype and something on a piece of paper. So I've given you the address. It shows you what it sold for in April, and that is kind of our modus operandi of how we do things. So by all means, go take a look at it yourself. Here's another one. Not quite as exciting, but still pretty darn good. It just goes to show you again the power of leverage, and it is very powerful. You're able to invest essentially 23,907.50 and be off to the races on a $140,000 investment. The total cash needed, we didn't really address that, so I just want to talk about that. So when RCN comes to us, and we're going to look at it in a different slide here in a second, and we put this together and they run it through their metrics and whatnot, they pump out a number. It says, okay, this is what you need to have in the bank. This is your liquidity. You need to have this in the bank. So when you do a draw and you do your renovations, that it's coming out of that cash needed. And then we come back and say, okay, Jeff, it's done. It's not Jeff, but obviously, we come back and they say, okay, great, it is done. Here's your 20,000 back. Go do it again until you're done with the project. So that's essentially how the 100% of rehab works. Obviously they're not going to just throw the money at you. They're going to make sure that it's secure and you're actually doing and following through the way you're supposed to on the project. Now here's one real life example. Peter actually gave this to me today. So I kind of slammed it in here at the last minute. And sorry, admitting somebody from the waiting room. And this just kind of shows you, this is a real life opportunity, a real life deal. They're loaning to us at 87.5% of value. The initial advance on the money, you see where that is. The monthly payments, which is the interest payment. And this is just a breakdown of everything that's going to be required for us to complete this project. So you're essentially looking at an investment of $93,750 on the down payment plus the $22,656. That $48,000 is that cash reserve we talked about. So the total liquidity that they want to see in your account is $165,326. So that's all in on this particular investment, which we've already had appraised once. And the appraisal came back with a value of $800,000 as it sits right today, and a finished value of $1.55 million. The rental forecast on the appraisal is $2,500 per unit. It's a quadplex. We converted it from an 8.4 to a 16.8 because it's a massive property. That's not making bedrooms that only fit twin beds. You can get a king into every one of them. But that's essentially what we've done. And again, this is a block from where SCAD is building right now, where those dorms are. It's literally across the street, one straight over. So this is a real life opportunity for working with us. We could engage in this tomorrow if we wanted to, if any investor was interested. So $10,000 a month in gross rental income. We own the property to the immediate left. We have the one on the right under contract. And then over my left shoulder, we have 3 other triplex and duplexes. So again, we talk about volume and being able to control the market, if you will. So once we get all those other projects done, we say, hey, okay, investor in Quadplex, do you want to sell now that we've got these other ones up here with comps at, that have pushed yours up to 1.8 million? That becomes an option. So this is what's going on all over Savannah right now. So this is just a real life example I'm showing you that is available as soon as you email me. I'm not going to talk about becoming our lender because that's not really what this is about, but I'll just say that there are opportunities where we need the cash to get into the investment, and then we come back and we underwrite it through hard money. So we're working on a deal like that right now, $850,000 piece of property here on Hilton Head that we're going to essentially double the full footprint on the property. We're going to rip the roof off. We're going up with it and double the square footage on it. So it's going to be a big project. But we had to buy it cash and we had to buy it quick. So now we own it and we'll put it through underwriting. So there's always those opportunities to do that. Reason we can't do it all ourselves is right now I've got a lot of cash involved in a hotel project in Savannah. And that's where my money's tied up. So that's why sometimes we need what I would call private lenders that don't operate in the normal hard money space. Property on the right is just something that popped up. Again, we needed the cash to close it. We didn't have the cash at the time. We did get the cash to close on it. And that property just needs cosmetics and some updating, and we'll resell that one for 1.6. Now, I mentioned early on in this broadcast that COVID and the market has created some unique inventory, unique opportunities. When you looked at some of those hard money slides, the breakdown, you'll see it says 12-month terms. That's pretty much typical of all hard money loans. Now, you can pay a point and extend it for 3 months. Sometimes you can pay another point and extend it for another 3 months. But essentially, there's going to be time where it's going to run out. Because of labor shortages and because investors have other things they wanted to put their money into, our timelines grew. And what was once 6 to 9 month projects has become 12 to 18 month projects. So there's an opportunity where we have an inventory of probably 20 properties right now on the books that are 80% done, but the investors they want out of it at this point, or they need to reset the button on the hard money loan. So they also want out of it for that reason. The upside here is time is on our side. As Jeff pointed out, 2022 is supposed to be just as good. We'll see. Savannah, I know, is going to be just fine regardless with Amazon coming in and everything else they have going for them. Our market will continue to go. Another reason we have this inventory as well is I mentioned in that quadplex slide that we have properties all over and around, which allows us to control the market, if you will, control the valuation and the appreciation of the properties. Sometimes we need some of our other projects to catch up. The picture on the bottom left here on this slide, the one on the left is a single family home. The one on the right is a duplex. They're the exact same property as far as what they look like on the inside, except they put a wall up and created a duplex. So we needed one of them to catch up to the other one by about 6 months so we could list them together. That helps you, more or less manipulate the comps. On this particular street, you have 2 brand new properties and what is considered an up and coming area, but nobody else has caught up yet. But when you have those 2 properties, what normally would sell for 189, now you're listing it for 229 and you're getting 220 out of it. So there is unique opportunity to acquire properties that need catching up as well. So at the end of this broadcast, what we're going to do is tomorrow I have everyone's email address. I'm going to send that list of properties. I'm going to send this recorded webinar because a lot of you didn't make it, and I see a lot of you actually came in really late. So we'll get that squared away. This is one of those particular properties. You can see it's close. It's really, really close. What's tying it up it's a historical rehab. So we have to go through municipal planning commission. We have to go through historical society. So it's really bogged down the process and slowed things down because everybody is experiencing labor shortages. What took us 4 months to get a permit for a full reno job, now it's taking us 12 weeks to get a demo permit. So it's nature of the beast. But again, time is on our side. These things are appreciating faster than we can even keep up. So the delays are fine. It just means we're going to list it for more later for now. But this is another opportunity out there that is ready for the taking right now. This is what it looks like if we put it into RCN's metrics machine. This is what they pumped out today, literally today. What they're going to loan us is 77.5% on it. What the monthly payment is, but look at what you essentially have to bring to the table for this potentially $550,000 gross sales property, $38,270. That is your power of leverage right there. I mean, that puts it into great perspective for you that you're actually going to borrow $282,000 and all you have to bring to the table is $38,000. That is awesome, and that's the power of leverage. I believe this is the last one just in this presentation, but again, it's just another example. Now, this particular one is too fast for hard money. They take about 3 weeks to underwrite this and get it funded. On this particular project, we can actually have it back on the market in 40 to 60 days. So this particular one, it's a great opportunity. It's almost done. To the novice investor, not seeing walls and fixtures in place may look like a big deal. It's not. It takes 2 days to drop electrical. It takes 2 days to drop plumbing, another day for mechanical, which is your heating and air. And as soon as that's done and inspected, we put the walls on and this property is done and we're out the door. Because of the volume that we do and the size we are, we can knock this thing out with the walls and whatnot in about a week with paint. With that, I'm going to kick things over to Seth Markum, who's with National Real Estate Insurance Group. I can't say enough good things about this company. They are awesome. They make investing real easy. It's probably actually insurance is probably the easiest part of our day to day. These guys have really created something that's a niche in the market. Had the foresight to put it together, and it's just amazing. So with that, Seth, I will kick it off to you.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I love the intro. Definitely thank you for that. Let's go ahead and pop to the next slide. So they've asked me to come on tonight to talk about insuring your investment properties. And it's a little bit disturbing that we're on the end of this because insurance is not that riveting. It's not that exciting, but it is an absolute necessity. And so a little bit about us, National Real Estate Insurance Group. We are a national agency that is licensed in all 50 states. And we cater specifically to the residential real estate investor. So we are a specialty market, and that is all that we do. A little bit of history about us. We started back in 2008. Our founders are actually real estate investors, and a couple of them had insurance background. And so they realized that the 1 to 4 market segment was underserved. And so they said, hey, let's start this program. So that's where we started out, and it has grown substantially up until today. So let's go ahead and go to the next slide. So I'm going to talk about what makes us different. I did talk about that we specialize in insuring investments for real estate investors. But the one thing that really makes us different is we're a monthly reporter. So it's monthly billing and reporting, and there are no earned premiums. What this means to you is you can do a pay-as-you-go with us. And so it's a month to month. So if you're not going to hold the asset for very long, or if you're going to do a fix and flip, it's really conducive to making sure that we cater that particular part to you as the investor. We do up to 20 units per location. Remember, I said that we started out in the 1 to 4, so we've evolved in the 1 to 20, and we can do this all on one schedule and have one monthly report. Let's go to the next. Another unique thing about us is we insure all occupants, all phases of occupancy. So vacant, occupied, rehab, vacation rentals, and we can do this all under one roof. Next one, please. Oh, another unique thing about it is we can insure all of those occupancy statuses, but there's a seamless transition between. Typically, when you go to the guy that's on the corner selling insurance, and I'm not talking bad about him because I used to be that guy, but anytime you have a change in occupancy, whether you're doing renovation and it goes to vacant, or whether you're occupied and you go to a vacant property, they're going to cancel your policy and then rewrite you. And so you're waiting on a return premium, and then you're having to come up with money to start the vacant policy or whatever you're moving to. And so this streamlines that process, and you never get in that cramp with the money. So let's go to the next one. We also have no co-insurance penalties when you insure at $50 a square foot and above. And as far as how this compares to the industry, this is quite low compared to what the industry average is. Let's do the next one. We pride ourselves in taking a customized approach because every one of you invests differently. Your strategies are different. The way that you're investing is different. The outcomes that you're looking for may be different. And so we take a customized approach to build that specifically for your needs, because we don't believe that one product or one size fits all. When you do go to the people that are on the corner, like we talked about, they're going to come out and they're going to say, here's what I have. They're not going to offer you some of the flexibilities that we're going to offer because, they're not necessarily catering to you only. They're catering to a wide variety of different products. Let's do the next one. So we set up how we do our evaluation for actual cash value and replacement cost in a tiered approach. So anything $70 a square foot, when you insure it with us, is going to provide replacement cost. This again is far lower than the industry average. Let's do the next one. And then our ability to ensure those creative investment strategies. When you deal with a traditional agent, they're kind of in the box. They do what they do, and they don't have a lot of flexibility outside of that. We've been doing this since 2008. We have those relationships where if you have something that's a little bit different based upon the strategy that you're implementing in your business, we're able to cater to that to build something custom to fit that. So let's go ahead and go to the next one. So eligible property types, single family. And because we're a master policy format, we can do one location or we can do literally hundreds. In the multifamily, like I talked about before, we do up to 20 units per location. So small apartment complexes down to duplex, triplex, quadplex. Renovation is the next one. So any phase of occupancy, even renovation. So if you're going to purchase that and do rehab on the property, we can bring it on directly as a renovation status. And then as that changes, there again, we'll use that seamless process we talked about before. New construction as well. So if you want somebody who's got some property and you want to build single family or multifamily on it, we will do the builder's risk for you there. Vacant, we do specialize in all three of those occupancy statuses. So the vacant is not going to be a challenge for us. The next one's vacation rentals. So any one of these, single family, multifamily, condominium, mobile home, whatever, we can do for short-term vacation rentals, like our Airbnb and VRBO type people. The next one is condominiums. Of course, we do condominiums. That's a walls in coverage for that investor that's releasing that out. And even if you've bought some mobile homes, modular homes, something of that nature, we can still do that as well. That seems to be a challenge with the traditional agent, with having market access to be able to incorporate that. We want to be that one-stop shop for you. So we don't want to have to piecemeal it here and there. If you have vacant land, so for purposes of this, it's vacant land with no man-made structures. We will do the liability there. And then we also have some specialty products. So if you're buying non-performing notes or any note, we have the ability to insure that as well. And then lender-placed insurance is the last one. So this is, if you're a borrower and you don't provide adequate coverage or you let it lapse, the lender's going to do force-placed coverage on you, which is lender-placed. But in this scenario, if you as an investor are holding the note for somebody you're selling a property to, we can also provide that service for you as well. Let's go to the next one. So we have ancillary coverages. Flood is the first one. Most people think, well, flood insurance, that's not really that big of a deal. It is, because it's not something that's covered on your standard policy. You have to buy flood coverage. And what a lot of people don't realize is, they look at the 100-year floodplain and it's either yes, I need it, or no, I don't. But the thing that they're not realizing is 25% of flood claims happen outside of the 100-year floodplain. So that is something that you might consider depending on where the property is that you're purchasing. The next one is earth movement. So our earth movement consists of earthquake and sinkhole coverage. And it is available everywhere except for Alaska, Hawaii, California, Illinois, and Florida. California and Florida we're working on. We're hoping to have that up very soon. But it's a work in progress. The next one, terrorism and political violence. 10 years ago, I would tell my customers, look, this isn't really something that I'm going to push on you. I don't see a whole lot of reason for it. It's a very inexpensive coverage. So it's $12 per year per house. If it's multifamily, then it's going to be per unit. But the thing about this is that terrorism and political violence in the climate that we live in today, with things getting burned down and the kind, it's a very inexpensive coverage to go ahead and just leave on your policy, because every time we do a proposal, we're automatically going to include that unless you tell us otherwise. The next one is our tenant protector plan. This is a unique product, and this is a product that's only offered by National Real Estate Insurance Group. It's a product that provides liability and contents coverage to the tenant, but it's bought by you, the property owner. And so if you've ever had the instance where, you're going to mandate that they have renter's insurance, you have to keep up with it to make sure that it's enforced, and that you're listed as an AI on the policy, etc. If you buy the tenant protector plan and just pass it back in rent, you're not ever going to have to go through all of that. And what it does is it operates on two levels. It does provide liability as well as contents coverage to the tenant. And basically what it does is it gives you extended property coverage for tenant negligent acts. So if you have a tenant that leaves a candle on in the bathroom, the towel catches fire, and now we have a larger fire, that's specifically what this is geared towards. And especially if you rent in college towns to like undergraduate students, so young people, this is something definitely that you would want to consider. The next one is a new one to us. It's property management E&O. And so there's a lot of things that investors don't necessarily take into account when they're managing their own properties. So this coverage is not for professional management companies. This is for you, the individual that is managing your own property. And it covers a lot of different things. Tenant discrimination is a big one. And we're starting to see more litigation now than we've ever had before. So that's something that you want to consider. But it can even be as simple as how you place your ad and represent your property. If you say, look, this is ADA compliant, but it's not 100% ADA compliant, you could actually have suit filed on you by a prospective tenant. And it is as simple as that. So that's one of the coverages that we brought. Equipment breakdown is the last one I'm going to talk about. And this is really designed for if you have unified systems, like up north, you'll have a boiler. In the south, you might have a centralized compressor where you have different air handling systems, and it provides a financial coverage if you have a true equipment breakdown. It does do property coverage for repair as well. So depending on the property, this may be something that you want to consider. Let's go ahead and go to the next one. So here's another couple of offerings that we want to put out there. Now, we do offer a renter protection plan, which is true renter's insurance. If you're an insured with us and you send them to the link at the bottom of your tenant, nreg.com/renters, we're automatically going to put you as the additional insured on that based upon the address that they're putting into the system. Canine Guard is another one that we've added. So this is for if you have tenants that you're going to allow them to have a dog on the property. Canine Guard is canine liability specifically for injuries to a third party caused by the dog themselves. Our liability, however, does have dog bite coverage at a sublimit, but if you want them to carry it standalone, this is the product that we're going to offer. So let's go ahead and hit the next one.
I got a question for you on that one.
Absolutely.
Does it exclude certain breeds?
Okay, so our standard liability, our premise liability that we offer does not have a breed restriction, even though it is a sublimit. But the canine guard, it is actually rated by breed. And so, no, it doesn't restrict any breed, but you know, that Rottweiler is going to be a little bit different rate than your Yorkie Terrier.
Right.
So, but you know, everything is customizable. Here again, if you would like, if you're not already with us, which I'm hoping a lot of the participants are, go to nreg.com and request a proposal. And we'd be happy to get one of our sales associates on the phone with you and talk about your specific needs and customize that product for you.
Awesome.
So,
Thanks, Seth. So that pretty much wraps up the presentation. We're right on time, right at 8 o'clock, but we're going to take questions now. There's not a lot coming in, but the ones that are pretty much for you, Jeff. And I've got, so, you know, I want you to expand on this a little bit because you guys have a lot of really cool different models and different products now. You know, you touched on it a little bit that you started out with just one particular, but you know, you guys have a lot of cool things. So, you know, I want you to kind of go into that. So the question from Stefano is, many of the deals properties I purchased are in rent-ready condition, but due to the present 45 days plus time frame to get a 30-year mortgage, he's forced to purchase them with hard money, and 6 months later, after the seasoning period, get a 30-year mortgage. It's a detriment due to the double closing costs and hard money fees. Is there any hope a quick closing rental property product will ever exist?
Right. So if you are buying properties rent ready, we have a 30-year rental product for you. If that property does not need renovation, so we go in, we get the appraisal, we make sure that the tenants are in place, we make sure that the property is up to today's standards and codes. And if you provide the leases and everything checks out, we have a product for you to be able to finance from acquisition into a 30-year product.
Right. And what about, you know, I talked to Peter today about a bridge loan because one of the projects we have going on that we're doing with you guys, we're ready to cash it out because we bought it with cash and put it into hard money. And, you know, I addressed it with him and he answered the question that, you know, yes, we're ready to start paying interest and do this closing, but we have to go through architectural review boards and the city and all that. And we don't want to pay, you know, on the renovation money interest yet. And can you just explain a little bit how that works?
Right. So we do have a product available under the bridge program where if you have a product, a home that you don't need renovation dollars for, we can lend to you just to do a cash out because you already own it with cash. Or if you have a mortgage and you're just looking to take that mortgage out, obviously there's going to be some caps on that. We don't go as high a leverage if you're not doing rehab. Generally, it's between 70 and 75% of the as-is value, but that is a product that is available which is a non-rehab loan.
Right. All right. We don't have a lot of questions, surprisingly, and even though we had 157 registered, a lot didn't show up. So what usually it's like a 50-50, right? So what we're going to do is those of you that came in late, you'll all get the recorded broadcast tomorrow at some point. You'll get a list of all of our properties that are ready to go into hard money or just traditional investments, and as well as Seth and well, Jeff, who do you want these folks to contact?
So very simply, go to info@rcncapital.com. That's info@rcncapital. That's capital with an A.com.
Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. I can't believe we actually got this done within the hour, an hour and 3 minutes to be exact. I apparently, I must talk a lot because I did this last night and I was at an hour by myself. And it was the same slides. I don't know what happened there, But appreciate everybody that attended, and we will get all this stuff over to you tomorrow afternoon, and we look forward to hearing from you. Thanks, everybody.
Great job, Charles. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.